Okay. Anthony Scaramucci, the new communications director of the White House, had an interview with Ryan Litza of the New Yorker. Let me just tell you something. Sean Spicer, who resigned over this guy coming in, said he was ill-equipped for this job. And I tweeted this out last night. Sean Spicer was right. This guy has got a screw loose. Wait till I read what went down yesterday. This Scaramucci guy, the language he used in an interview is so uncouth, so disgusting, so revolting, so demented that I'm going to have to say blankety blank through it as I read to you what this guy said. And this is a family show, and it's not really meant for this. I mean, this is the communications director of the leader of the free world. I am appalled by this guy's statements. I want to puke. And why he didn't get fired last night is beyond me. This guy should not report back to work on Monday. I don't care what Trump does. I mean, at some point, you just have to be couth, for heaven's sake. And I'll tell you the other thing. Sean Spicer was right. Now, Sean's my friend, and I'm biased, so at least I'm man enough to tell you that. But Spicer was right. He resigned over this guy because he said he was nuts. Scaramucci unloaded on Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. I'm not a fan of Priebus's, as you know, accusing him of leaking details of a private dinner with President Trump and claiming he's going to ask him to resign. Now, this in a interview with Brian Lissa of the New Yorker, and Scaramucci called him, and it started because Ryan Lissa sent a tweet out, I guess this would have been Wednesday night, and said that it was a very innocuous tweet, like who cares? He sent a tweet out that said, hey, I heard President Trump from a few sources is having dinner tonight, a private dinner with Anthony Scaramucci, Bill Shine, former Fox executive, and Sean Hannity. And, of course, everybody that follows Hannity knows that him and Shine are very, very good friends. And I think also Sean's producer was there. They go back a long time. So we tweeted this out. So there's a private dinner. So who cares? Maybe somebody's joining the White House. Who cares? They're having a dinner. You have dinner with whoever they please. Anyway, apparently Scaramucci went bananas over this. So someone leaks it out in the White House. Now, maybe they leak it out because they're jealous they're not at the dinner. They're trying to undermine Scaramucci. I don't know. But somebody leaks it out. So Scaramucci goes berserk. And Wednesday night after the dinner, he sees this tweet and he calls up the author of the tweet, Ryan Lissa, demanding that he tell them who the leakers are. Demanding it. Now, let me tell you, rule of journalism 101. I've been in this business a very long time. You never give your source up. So you never ask. I mean, nobody's going to give their source up. It's stupid. I mean, I'll give you an example. I got Ben Klein coming on today in about a half hour. And I had heard that Bob Goodlatte was resigning from what I thought was a pretty reliable source. Because I don't tweet things. I don't make up stuff. There's no fake news. So I checked it out. And I said, sources say Goodlatte is going to retire, and these are the people that are going to be running against him. And Goodlatte's office said no, and they denied it, so I deleted the tweet. I mean, sometimes you just get bad information. I can tell you this, though. I only get burned once. You burn me once, my fault. That's it. I never get burned twice, ever. So I got burned. That's fine. Apparently he's not retiring, Goodlatte. But then I get a text from somebody asking me who the leaker is. I'm like, screw you. I'm not going to answer that. Nobody answers that. So that's the way it started. Scaramucci's inexperience in this job, trying to get Lissa to tell him who his sources are. He's not going to do that. No reporter does that, ever. You'd go to jail before you would do that in our business. Then he goes on in this interview, which is not off the record. He never says, this is off the record, this is on background. He just goes off in this interview, which is on the record, of which he called. Okay, let me read you some of the excerpts here. He says, quote, Reince is an F-blanking, paranoid, schizophrenic paranoiac. Then he goes on to say, they'll all be fired by me, referring to the White House communication staff. I fired one guy the other day. That's Michael Short. I have 3 or 4 people I'm firing tomorrow. That would be today. I'll get to the person who leaked that to you. Reince Priebus, if you want to leak something, he'll be asked to resign very shortly. And Scaramucci went on in this interview telling Lissa that he believed that Priebus, whom he has feuded with for months, was the one who told Litsa about the dinner. Although Litsa subsequently said it was not even Priebus, it was somebody else. So he didn't even have that right. So mimicking Priebus, Scaramucci tells Ryan Lissa, oh, Bill Shine is coming in. Let me, word starts with an F, let me leak the blanking thing and see if I can blank block these people the way I blank blocked Scaramucci for 6 months. Who talks this way to a reporter on the phone? Priebus did not respond to the New Yorker's request for comment. In a tweet after the story published, Scaramucci declined to apologize to his colleagues. He did suggest that he would quit using profanity in his new role. He tweeted out, I sometimes use colorful language. But it got worse. Okay? It got worse. Because after calling Priebus all these things and throwing the F-bomb around 25 times, he then directed his profane tirade at other members of the White House staff, whom he said were only in their post for media attention and notoriety. For instance, he says, quote, I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to blankety blank my own blank. I can't even read this on the air. I mean, who says this? This is Steve Bannon, one of my heroes. I mean, Steve Bannon's in there advising who the hell does this? He said, I'm not trying to build my own brand off the F-blankety strength of the president. I'm here to serve the country. Bannon declined the comment. Priebus and Bannon were vehemently opposed to Scaramucci's hire, which was announced a week ago. But according to this article, Scaramucci trained most of his ire on Priebus, with whom he has clashed since their days as Republican National Committee chairman, and he was a GOP donor. He also vented his anger that the magazine Politico reported on his financial disclosure forms, which he blamed Priebus for leaking, but they were obtained through a routine open records request to the Export-Import Bank, where he worked before he went to the White House. This guy's lack of experience is frightening. He doesn't even know that as a public employee at the Export-Import Bank, that all Politico had to do was file a FOIA request. Nobody had to leak squat. The hell's this guy coming from? And he insisted to Ryan Lissa of the New Yorker that Priebus leaked a document, which he called a felony. So now he's accusing the chief of staff of committing a felony in an interview on the record of which Priebus had nothing to do with, because it got obtained through a simple FOIA request that, ladies and gentlemen, I could have done in 15 minutes if I chose to do that. As a card-carrying member of the media, I could have filed a FOIA request and got his financial documents. So now he's accusing, in an interview in public, the president's chief of staff of a felony. Now, I don't like a lot of what Priebus has done, but I mean, you just got to draw the line here. I mean, this is like insane what is going on. So he accuses him of a felony, and then he tells the reporter on the phone at 10:30, yeah, let me go because I got to start tweeting some blank out to make this guy crazy. I mean, you have got to be kidding me. And of course, on Friday last week, Scaramucci tried to say they were brothers and they fight and whatever. This is just sick. I mean, this is uncouth. I mean, who does this? Who even talks this way? Do you know anybody that talks this way? Let alone on the record? to a reporter and then trying to get his sources? The hell planet did this guy come from? What a jerk. This is the guy that's the communications director for the leader of the free world? And you want to know how screwed up this administration is? And Sean Spicer resigns over this guy, saying he was nuts. Spicer's right. Guy deserves to be exonerated. I mean, what a crackpot. This is the communication. This guy, Trump should have fired him last night. Like, get out of my office. I don't care how much money you made in your dirtbag Wall Street gangster bankster days. Get the hell out. I mean, you have got to be kidding. You're not going to get anything done with these crazy. This guy's crazy. And then he's like threatening to fire everybody. Who does this? I mean, there's simply a way to do business, a way to conduct yourself with a little bit of class. Now, and these guys fighting, are they fighting over policy? Are we fighting over whether or not we're sending troops to Afghanistan? Are we fighting over how big the tax reform bill is? Are we fighting over the wall? Are we fighting over funding? Are we fighting over major policy issues? No, we're fighting over little egos. Little like who's got a bigger this or that. We're fighting over who didn't get invited to a dinner. This egomaniacal nonsense that is going on in the West Wing. You know, I thought when Ivanka got there, she was going to stop it. It's getting worse. There is no excuse for this. You can't spin it. You don't even try to, you know what? You're going to try to call me up and defend him now. Oh, well, he's just, trying to get rid of the leaks and defend the president. No, he's nuts. He's nuts. If you had anybody in your workplace or your household or your local congressman's office that talked that way, you would want him to get the hell out of there. You can't even read this to your kids. I mean, this is sick. This guy's sick. And he calls up a report. What the hell does he think he was going to happen? I mean, he doesn't even know enough to go say this is off the record on background and get the commitment. He just calls up at 10:30 and starts popping off. Who the hell does this? This is your communications director of the leader of the free world, where Trump has got his kids in the White House. Hey, you going to read that, Mr. President, to Barron? You going to let Barron read that? You going to let Ivanka's kids read that? You going to let Don Jr.'s kids and your 8 grandkids read that? Who are you going to let read that? This guy is representing you, Mr. President. You. Not me, not the media, you. You're responsible for this crackpot who you've got in as communications director. And you ain't going to get crap done until you get this straightened out. And it starts by getting this guy out and putting somebody in there that knows what the hell they're doing. You know what? I'm all about this agenda, and there's no bigger Trump supporter than me. But at some point in life, you have just got to call it like it is. This guy should get fired today. I mean, can you imagine being in the communications department? You know what? There's leakers in there. There's previous. There's not people you don't like, but they're human beings, for heaven's sake. And some of them are legit, right? They're legit. They're there for the right reasons. They're really legit. And they're working 20 hours a day. And you go into your job today after this guy said this, not knowing if he's just going to fire anybody on a whim, the way he talks about people, and throwing those words, and then he tweets out, oh, I use colorful language. You know what? You're nuts.